Blagoveshchensk was founded in 1856 when a military settlement was laid south of Zaya. There was a huge urge to finally decide the belonging of the left bank of the Amur River within the Russian Empire. For this, measures had to be taken for the consolidation of the Russian population in the area. On the 2nd of June 1856, on the left bank of the Amur, a military playbook took action by sending a detachment of about 500 soldiers to start clearing the area for preparation and placement of future settlers. On the 11th of July of the same year, the first group of settlers was prepared of a total 60 people who were assembled from Transbaikal Cossacks. By the next summer of 1857, due to their dote, another 100 people had been settled within the same approach. By spring of 1858, the banks of the Amur already had settled Russian people who developed a favorable situation to document these territories into the Russian Empire. On the 17th of July, 1858, the imperial decree of 2232 stated that the city of the Annunciation was founded. In 1858, the Amur region was established. Generally, we can see that it's just the ordinary history of a Russian city. However, researchers were surprised by the fact that these lands didn't officially belong to the Russian Empire until 1858. Now, let's look at these ancient buildings of Blagoveshchensk city. One of our subscribers from Blagoveshchensk sent me these interesting photos of the city. Here, we can see a lot of old buildings and their first floors are backfilled with windows peeking out of the ground. So let's discover why it looked like this. There's no mystery here that it is connected to the partial flooding of the city. Let's see what the official history stated. A Brief History of the Amur Cossack Host, a book from 1912, states that the first major flooding happened in 1861. In 1862, there was another huge flood. After 10 years, another flood submerged, and so on until 1958, when an embankment of about 6 kilometers was built in Blagoveshchensk. Researchers assumed that there were frequent floods in the city, and thus the first floors had perhaps been filled in such a simple manner. A resident of Blagoveshchensk sent us these interesting photos of the city buildings. In 1894, on the corner of the American Embassy in the intersection between Lenin Street and Bolshaya Street, a magnificent stone building was built which belongs to the local history museum. The building was primarily one of Constant Alba's group of stores. It's interesting that a Russian store was built by German merchants and operated through its Chinese workers. This project was led by Edward Scheffer. It was raised by the help of the Chinese who came from Vladivostok. The building was built in parts. Firstly, they built the left wing, then they started working on the central parts until the third and final part was finished after 20 years since it began. Commonly, this is a building in which we know everything about, when it was built and what was on the building site before construction. So let's take a look at the building itself. If you checked around the building of the local history museum and went from the side of the yard, then you'd see an excellent underground floor equipped with windows and doors. After all, everything is well known about this building, from its infrastructure to the date of its construction. How could the engineer who built this building design a huge basement with large windows well below the ground level in a city which gets flooded every few years? The house was built at the end of the 19th century. The flooding was common knowledge. Why would they establish underground windows and subject their merchandise to flooding and possible damage? I said earlier that this building was a store of a well-known German company. It seems that it was an ancient building with a pre-constructed first floor, but at the beginning of the 20th century, historians came and painted us a different story. It's like our story of the Winter Palace. Everybody knew about the floods. However, maybe famous architects made the huge basement windows for a better water passage. Blagoveshchensk is a typical ancient city that is packed with many first-story buildings.